The air in the Hell Creek Formation is thick, humid, and heavy with the scent of crushed ferns and hot blood. Here, 66 million years ago, the laws of the universe are written in tooth and claw. A multi-ton Triceratops stands its ground, its three massive horns lowered like pikes, its bony frill acting as a shield of solid calcium. Opposite this living fortress stands the undisputed king of the late Cretaceous, Tyrannosaurus rex. This is not a choreographed movie scene. It is a primal, desperate ballet of survival. The Rex doesn't roar. It emits a low-frequency rumble that vibrates in the chest of every living thing for miles. It circles, its 4-foot jaws dripping with septic saliva, looking for a weakness in the herbivore's flank. The Triceratops bellows, pivoting its massive body to keep its weaponry pointed at the predator. Muscle fibers strain, lungs heave in the oxygen-rich air, and for a fleeting second, time stands still. In this moment, biological perfection has been achieved. Both animals are the pinnacle of millions of years of specialized evolution. One is the ultimate spear, the other, the ultimate shield. This is the world as it has always been, a brutal, beautiful cycle of predator and prey where strength is the only currency that matters. But as the Rex lunges, snapping its jaws inches from the tri-horned face, the shadows on the ground do something impossible. They disappear. It isn't because of a cloud or the setting sun. High above the atmosphere, a rock the size of Mount Everest has just pierced the envelope of our world. It is traveling at 20 kilometers per second, so fast that the air beneath it cannot move out of the way, compressing into a plasma hotter than the surface of the sun. The battle below suddenly feels small. The Triceratops and the Tyrannosaur sense it, not through sight, but through a sudden, terrifying shift in the static electricity of the air. The governing laws of their world, the laws of dominance and territory, are being overwritten by the laws of celestial mechanics. The true antagonist has arrived, and it doesn't have teeth or claws. It is a messenger of gravity and fire, an intruder from the cold dark of the asteroid belt that cares nothing for the hierarchies of Earth. What does it mean to be the strongest when the ground beneath you turns to liquid? As the bolide strikes the Yucatan Peninsula, the kinetic energy released is equivalent to 1 billion Hiroshima bombs. In an instant, the very definition of fitness is turned upside down. For millions of years, being the biggest, the most armored, or the most aggressive was the winning strategy. But as the shockwave ripples through the crust, traveling faster than the speed of sound, a central philosophical challenge emerges. Is dominance a trap? In a stable world, strength is an asset. In a world undergoing a total systemic collapse, strength becomes a liability. The asteroid acts as a narrative reset button, dissolving the social and biological structures that have stood for ages. We are forced to reconsider the nature of control. We realize that the dinosaurs didn't lose because they were failures. They lost because they were too well adapted to a world that no longer existed. The impact is not merely a localized explosion. It is a planetary systems failure. Within minutes of the strike, billions of tons of vaporized rock and sulfur are ejected into the upper atmosphere. This material doesn't just fall back down. It re-enters the atmosphere as a rain of incandescent glass spherules. The friction of their descent heats the air to the temperature of a pizza oven. Across the globe, forests ignite. But the heat is only the first act. The sulfur aerosols injected into the stratosphere begin to reflect sunlight back into space. The world plunges into an impact winter that will last for years. This is atmospheric poisoning, not in the sense of a toxic gas, but in the sense of a broken sky. The planetary life support system has been unplugged. We see the cascading effects. The temperature drops by 30 degrees Celsius in a matter of weeks, and the chemistry of the oceans begins to turn acidic. The drama of the dinosaur era is being buried under layers of soot and ice. We often ignore the flora, seeing trees and ferns as mere backdrops for the real action of the animals. But the foundation of all life is the sun, and the gateway to that energy is photosynthesis. As the soot and sulfur choke out the light, the green world begins to wither. The great forests of the Cretaceous, the ginkgos, the cycads, the towering conifers, find themselves unable to produce food. Extinction is not a top-down event. It is a bottom-up starvation. When the plants die, the energy budget of the entire planet goes into a deficit. The disappearance of the flora means that the carbon cycle is broken. The base of the food web isn't just a scientific term. It is the literal source of every calorie that fuels a Triceratops or a hadrosaur. When the plants vanish, the clock starts ticking for every herbivore on the planet. In biology, there is a concept called the specialist's trap. Evolution rewards those who find a niche and exploit it perfectly. If a dinosaur evolved to eat only one type of tough fern, it became the best fern eater in history. But that specialization is a gamble, a bet that the environment will remain stable forever. The asteroid represents the moment that bet fails. Traits that guaranteed success for 100 million years. Massive size for defense, specialized teeth for specific plants, high energy metabolisms for active hunting, become death sentences. Adaptation is revealed to be a fragile equilibrium. We see that in the face of catastrophe, being good at one thing is far more dangerous than being okay at everything. Consider the Ankylosaurus. It is a biological tank, covered in bony plates called osteoderms and sporting a massive club at the end of its tail. It was built to be invulnerable to the bite of a T-Rex. But you cannot hit an asteroid with a tail club. You cannot hide from a global winter behind a wall of bone. The Ankylosaurus becomes a tragic symbol of misplaced investment. The metabolic cost of growing and maintaining tons of armor is astronomical. In a world of scarcity, every calorie spent on defense is a calorie stolen from survival. The very traits that made the Ankylosaurus a success, its sheer bulk and heavy armor, made it a caloric glutton that the dying ecosystem could no longer afford to feed. The cows of the Cretaceous, the duck-billed hadrosaurs, were once the most successful herbivores on Earth. They moved in massive herds, possessed complex dental batteries that could grind through the toughest vegetation, and had sophisticated social structures. They relied on the safety in numbers and the abundance of the plains. But when the abundance disappears, herd behavior becomes a nightmare. Large groups of massive animals quickly deplete whatever meager food remains, leading to localized famines. Their sophisticated teeth were useless when there was nothing left to grind but ash and dead wood. Social resilience can buffer against a bad season, but it cannot replace a missing ecosystem. The hadrosaurs, for all their biological brilliance, found themselves over-leveraged in a bankrupt world. And what of the king? The Tyrannosaurus Rex did not die because it was hunted. It died because of simple arithmetic. An adult T-Rex requires hundreds of thousands of calories a day just to maintain its muscle mass and body temperature. It is the peak of the food pyramid, but a pyramid cannot stand without a base. As the herbivores died out, the Rex was left in an empty world. It was economically obsolete. You can be the most terrifying predator in history, but if your prey is gone, your size becomes your executioner. The Rex didn't go out in a blaze of glory. It likely wandered a desolate, freezing landscape, its massive body slowly consuming itself as it searched for a meal that no longer existed. Speed and agility are high-performance traits. The Dakotaraptor, a sleek, feathered killer built for precision and rapid strikes, represents the Formula One car of the dinosaur world. But high performance requires high-octane fuel. These animals had high metabolic rates, requiring frequent, high-protein meals. In the post-impact world, speed is a luxury. Every sprint for a meager scrap of food costs more energy than the food provides. The Dakotaraptor's precision was an evolutionary masterpiece that became an energetic liability. Efficiency, not performance, is what determines survival when the lights go out. Under extreme conditions, the race is won by those who can sit still and wait, not those who can run the fastest. Amidst the carnage, a different kind of animal began to find a way forward. The Troodon, small, intelligent, and possessing large eyes for night hunting, represents a shift in strategy. It wasn't committed to a single food source. It was an opportunist. It could eat insects, small lizards, seeds, or carrion. The Troodon embodies behavioral plasticity. While the giants were locked into their roles, the Troodon could pivot. Its intelligence allowed it to solve problems in a changing landscape, and its small size meant it didn't need a forest to survive, just a few beetles under a log. This is where the tone shifts from tragedy to hope. We see that the future belongs not to the dominant, but to the flexible. As the dust begins to settle over centuries, a new set of rules for natural selection emerges. The winners of the KPG extinction shared three traits: low energy demand, rapid reproduction, and ecological breadth. If you were smaller than a cat, lived in a burrow or underwater, and could eat anything from rotting wood to dead skin, you were the new elite. Evolution is often portrayed as a climb toward perfection or complexity, but the extinction shows us it is actually an indifferent process of filtering. The asteroid was the filter. It didn't care about the majesty of the dinosaurs. It only cared about who could survive on the leftovers. The logic of life is consistent. You either fit the environment or you fade away. There is a profound, eerie silence that followed the collapse. The thundering footsteps of the sauropods were gone. The trumpeting calls of the hadrosaurs were gone. But this silence was not emptiness. It was a transition. It was the necessary pause. Think of it as a forest fire that clears out the old, choked undergrowth to allow new seeds to germinate. In the shadow of the dead giants, the ecosystems of the world were resetting. Future lineages, the ancestors of everything we see today, were quietly taking root in the ruins. The silence was the sound of a new world being born in the dark. Out of the burrows came the mammals, shrew-like creatures that had spent the last 100 million years hiding in the shadows of the dinosaurs. They were warm-blooded, which allowed them to survive the impact winter. They were small, requiring very little food, and they were ready. Alongside them were the insects, the true masters of resilience, and the birds who found a way to bridge the gap between the old world and the new. These were not leftovers. They were the architects of the future. They didn't just inherit the world. They began to shape it into something entirely new, filling the empty niches left by the titans with a new, frantic energy. How do we know all this? The story isn't a myth, it's written in the stone. In places like Hell Creek, Montana, geologists find a thin, dark line in the rock known as the KPG boundary. Below that line, you find thousands of dinosaur fossils. Above that line, you find none. In that thin layer of clay, scientists found a massive spike in iridium, an element rare on Earth's surface but common in asteroids. They found shocked quartz, crystals that only form under the pressure of a nuclear-level impact. The science validates the narrative. It shows us that the history of our planet is not just a slow, gradual crawl, but a series of catastrophic leaps. The catastrophe is preserved in stone and chemistry, a permanent record of the day the world changed. But did the dinosaurs truly end? If you look out your window and see a sparrow, a hawk, or even a pigeon, you are looking at a dinosaur. One group of theropods, the birds, survived the fire and the frost. They shrunk in size, swapped teeth for beaks, and took to the air. Loss became lineage. The extinction was a pruning of the tree of life, not the uprooting of it. The essence of the velociraptor and the T-Rex lives on in the avian respiratory system and the way a bird of prey strikes its target. The dinosaurs didn't disappear, they transformed. They are a living reminder that even the greatest endings are often just transitions into something more resilient. Now, we must look in the mirror. We are the dominant species of this era, much like the dinosaurs were of theirs. We have built a world based on specialization, technology, and a massive energy budget. We often think of ourselves as observers of history, but we are a modern force capable of triggering the same kind of systemic change as that asteroid. The lesson of the dinosaurs is not that they were weak, but that they were unlucky and inflexible. As we alter the climate and the chemistry of our oceans, we are essentially throwing our own asteroid at the planet. The question for us is, are we too specialized in our ways of life to survive a shift in the environment? Can we learn to be as flexible as the Troodon, or are we as locked into our path as the Ankylosaurus? Take a moment to think about your own survival strategy in this modern world. If the environment around you, your career, your society, your climate, were to change overnight, would you be the Tyrannosaur, built for a world that no longer exists? Or would you be the Troodon, ready to pivot, learn, and find a new way to thrive? Resilience isn't about being the biggest or the loudest. It's about the ability to endure when the sun goes out in your life. It's about being small enough to listen and smart enough to change. Which dinosaur strategy do you find yourself using most often? Are you building armor, or are you building flexibility? The story of the extinction is not a tragedy. It is a testament to the continuity of life. It reminds us that endings are the necessary precondition for new beginnings. Without the asteroid, we would not be here. Our ancestors would still be shivering in the shadows of the giants. I wish you all great health, a resilient spirit, and the wisdom to see the opportunities in every ending. If you found this journey through time valuable, please subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and join our community of curious minds. What do you think is the most important trait for survival in the 21st century? Let me know in the comments below. I can't wait to read your thoughts. Stay flexible, and I'll see you in the next story.